Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking a really fascinating look into the psychology of stillness. Specifically, we're examining the people who don't just, put up with being at home, but actually thrive and find their greatest growth within their own four walls. Our sources, and we've looked at everything from psychology to neuroscience, they all seem to challenge this common idea.
Right, the assumption that staying home means you're hiding from life.
Exactly. Instead, they suggest it's more of an active pursuit, almost like a shortcut to connecting with your own internal design.
An internal design that gets pretty overwhelmed by all the noise out there.
So our mission for you today is to really explore how this quiet space isn't about shrinking your life at all. It's about expanding your inner universe. Just think for a second about your own home. That one corner you love, the way you set the thermostat.
The smell of your own laundry detergent.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's all perfectly tuned to you. So the big question we're asking is this: what if home isn't just a place, but a genuine power source?
And that's really the core idea we have to start with.
Yeah.
Because science is confirming that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
What's crucial to understand is the immediate physical and neurological thing that happens when you come home. For the human nervous system, home is. It's not a luxury. It's the main place where the brain registers safety.
And safety is the key.
It's the most fundamental prerequisite for clarity, for creativity, and for, just solid emotional health.
Okay, let's unpack that physical experience first. You know the feeling, right? You walk in the door after a crazy day.
Or even just a trip to the grocery store.
And there's that literal shift. Your shoulders drop an inch. You breathe out. All this tension you didn't even know you were holding releases.
That physical slump.
Yeah.
That is your body actively down-regulating its stress response.
Down-regulating. So turning the dial down.
Exactly. When you're out in the world, it's unpredictable. You're navigating strangers. You're wearing a social mask. Your brain is constantly pumping out low levels of stress hormones, cortisol. But home is what we'd call a low-threat environment. The sensory input is predictable. You control the light, the sound.
You're in charge.
You're in charge. And when the brain recognizes that, the cortisol production drops, your heart rate steadies, and your mind, it can finally stop being a security guard.
And it gets to be, what, an analyst?
An analyst, yes.
Okay.
It finally has the resources to process the day, to work through emotions.
That distinction between the internal and external world it's huge, because the world out there is just inherently loud.
And not just sounds, visual noise.
Right, the notifications, the ads, the expectation that you have to be on all the time.
And for people with a higher sensitivity to that kind of stimulus, and that's a real measurable trait, it's not just tiring.
It's genuine overwhelm.
So when someone says, I just love being home, what they're really communicating is something deeper.
Okay.
They're saying, this is where I can finally stop managing all that noise and actually start hearing the signal.
The signal being their own thoughts.
Their own thoughts, their intuition, their actual needs, all the stuff that gets drowned out.
And that leads to this amazing metaphor from the sources. Yeah. Home as an emotional airlock.
I love that one.
It's so good, especially for, the deeply empathic or sensitive person.
Person who absorbs everything.
Yes. You're walking around all day just soaking up the tension and emotions of everyone else. A stressful meeting, a crowded train.
You're carrying it. You're wearing it like a heavy coat you can't take off.
You're basically an emotional sponge.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So when a person wired that way comes home and closes that door, they are not escaping. They're decompressing.
Like a diver.
Exactly like a diver. They're allowing the pressure they've absorbed from the world to equalize. They can finally drop that guard.
A guard they might not even realize they're holding up.
And in that moment, they stop being a mirror for everyone else's feelings, and they finally become a window.
Looking inward.
At their own needs, their own feelings. The nervous system can finally just exhale.
Okay, so physical safety is step one. The emotional payoff then is getting to be authentic, to stop performing.
Mm-hmm.
So how does solitude actually help with that? Especially since so many people think staying home just means doing nothing.
Well, that's the big misconception, isn't it? Because some of the most profound human activity happens in solitude.
Like what?
Self-inquiry. I mean, when you're truly alone, your awareness just sharpens. You start noticing things you normally miss in all the chaos.
Yeah.
The way the light moves across the floor, the rhythm of your own breathing.
The texture of your own thoughts.
Exactly. This isn't emptiness. It's the inner world finally having enough space to show you how rich it is.
And this idea of fragmentation is so interesting to me.
How we split ourselves up.
Yeah. We have a version of ourselves for our boss, a different one for our friends, another for our family. You laugh at a joke that isn't funny.
Just to keep the peace. Social survival.
It's exhausting and it kind of hides who you really are. At home, you stop all that. You can just be. You can think in your own native language.
And feel what you actually feel, not what you're supposed to project.
The mental energy that takes.
It's like running a dozen apps in the background on your phone. It just drains the battery.
And home is where you get to close all those apps.
Exactly. And over time, doing that builds a really solid sense of self. You're not practicing being 10 different people anymore. You're just practicing being you.
And that kind of self-knowledge, it's getting pretty rare, isn't it?
In a world that's all about metrics and social approval, yes, it's incredibly rare.
But let's bring in the counter-argument.
Yeah.
You know, what about the person who says, when I'm alone, I just ruminate. The negative self-talk gets louder.
That's a really valid concern. And it gets to the heart of the difference between loneliness and solitude.
Okay.
Loneliness is that feeling of being disconnected, which, you're right, can happen in a massive crowd if you feel unseen.
We've all been there.
But solitude is a chosen state. And the people who really thrive in it often have deeper relationships, not fewer.
Because they're more selective.
They're selective, and they value authenticity over volume. They want connections where you can just be in a room together in comfortable silence. That's real presence, not performance. So solitude isn't the absence of connection. It's the foundation for real connection.
How so?
Well, if you only know who you are based on what other people reflect back at you, you're always chasing their approval.
You have nothing authentic to offer because you don't even know what that is.
Exactly. But if you can sit with yourself, with your own thoughts, even the difficult ones, without needing someone else to validate you.
That's a huge shift.
It's one of the most liberating psychological transitions a person can make, moving from external approval to internal stability.
Which brings us to routine. You know, routine gets such a bad rap. It's boring, it's restrictive.
The enemy of spontaneity.
Right. But for internal stability, the brain, it actually likes predictability, doesn't it?
It loves it, not because it's dull, but because it is profoundly calming. For the person who thrives at home, routine is a form of emotional regulation.
So the little things, like the morning coffee in the same mug.
That's a perfect example. That or sitting in the same chair by the window. Those are psychological anchors. They're little signals that tell your nervous system everything is okay, you're safe. The mind stops scanning for threats.
And I imagine that becomes even more important as we get older.
It does. As the world gets faster and louder and more complex, that need for a stable foundation increases.
So building a life with that kind of rhythm, especially for seniors, isn't giving up.
No, it's wisdom. It's the ultimate form of self-respect and boundary setting.
And once that foundation is set, what happens?
Once the system isn't on high alert anymore, the mind is finally free to do what we call generative wandering.
Generative wandering, I like that. So not just daydreaming.
No, it's not distracted scrolling. This is when your subconscious starts connecting dots. Insights bubble up. You see patterns you missed before.
This is where the real work happens.
This is the deep work that only solitude can unlock.
So how does that connect to creativity? Our culture seems to think creativity happens in these loud, high-energy brainstorming sessions.
But history shows that's not really true. Creativity happens in the quiet. When you're alone, your thoughts can unfold in their original, unfiltered form. You don't have to translate them for anyone else.
Right.
I mean, think of the great thinkers, artists, inventors. They all required intense periods of solitude to wrestle with big ideas.
Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own.
It's not just about the physical space, it's about the psychological space, claiming that solitude.
And for seniors, that combination of time, space, and a lifetime of experience, that has to be incredibly fertile ground.
It's a hugely creative season of life. The external pressures of a career are often diminished.
So you have the bandwidth.
You finally have the bandwidth to write the memoir, pick up the old hobby, or just think. Connect the dots of your own story. It's a kind of intellectual harvest.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the intentional, productive side of being home, but let's be real. Sometimes you come home and you are just bone tired, emotionally spent. You just collapse.
And our culture sees that and calls it lazy. It sees stillness as wasted time.
Right.
But psychologically, that fatigue is essential. It is emotional decompression. It is a form of healing that's as real as physical recovery.
So that heavy feeling.
That heaviness is healing disguised as exhaustion. Think about all the energy you spend all day managing your expressions, your tone of voice, suppressing reactions.
Let me get by.
And home is the only place where those suppressed feelings are finally safe enough to come to the surface and just dissipate.
This really highlights that we seem to have different internal operating systems.
That's a great way to put it.
Some people are external processors. They get energized by crowds, by interaction. That's how they recharge. A perfectly healthy system.
But the people we're talking about today, the home thrivers, are internal processors.
They expend energy in those situations.
A huge amount. And they recharge through solitude and quiet. And the problem is, neither system is better, but our culture celebrates the loud external one.
So the internal person often feels like there's something wrong with them.
They're asking, why do I feel better after a quiet Saturday reading than I do after that big party?
But the world needs both. It needs the explorers out front, but it also needs the quiet observers.
The ones who help make sense of it all.
Exactly. The people who notice what everyone else is too busy to see, they turn chaos into clarity, not despite their solitude, but because of it.
And that perspective just deepens with age. There's so much pressure on seniors to stay busy, to have a full calendar.
To stay visible.
But by that stage, you've earned the right to know what nourishes you, to exist at your own pace. Home stops being just a location. It becomes a state of being, an internal sanctuary you carry with you.
And when you have that, you can go out into the world without being swallowed by it, without fracturing into a dozen different people.
That's the core of it.
Emotional maturity is really just the ability to be still without feeling restless, to find meaning in authenticity, not in applause.
And that is the final synthesis from all our sources. Loving home isn't shrinking from life. It's engaging with it more deeply, more intentionally. It's choosing meaning over momentary emotion. It's choosing authenticity over applause.
Our society might undervalue stillness.
But psychology proves it's essential. Being comfortable in your own company is one of the strongest signs of emotional health there is. These people, they stop looking for validation and they start generating meaning. They carry that stillness with them like a gift.
So think about this. Think about the times in your own life when you've had your biggest breakthroughs, the moments of clarity, the really tough decisions. Chances are they didn't happen in the noise of a party. They happened in the quiet, in the shower, on a late-night walk, or just sitting in your own room. That is the hidden power of staying home. It gives your mind the silence it needs to finally speak clearly. And over time, that clarity accumulates into real wisdom, and the ultimate discovery maybe is realizing you were never really alone. You were just coming home to yourself.